Hi everyone, today's video is one of my most favorite subjects, fasting. And today we are going to go into a little bit more detail in regards to this topic. Fasting is something that I would consider to be a health hack. What do I mean by that? Well, it's basically something from which you get these accelerated health benefits beyond which we fully understand right now. Some other examples of health hacks would include things like meditation, cold immersion, sauna therapy, and there's a few others in there. And we can see, and the science is even beginning to show us, the incredible benefits that these therapies or hacks do for us, yet we don't as yet fully understand what is going on physiologically to explain the extent of these benefits. In my practice as a dietitian, I have never seen anything more powerful in terms of creating change for people than fasting. For you, if this challenge was the first time you dabbled in fasting, I hope that over the past 4 weeks, it has allowed you to learn a lot about yourself. In particular, your thoughts and habits around food. I know the first few weeks of fasting can be extremely challenging. And maybe you didn't make it all the way through to that 24-hour mark. But I hope now, after 4 attempts at the 2 times 24-hour protocol, you are beginning to get the hang of it. Or more specifically, you are feeling a whole lot better, not only about fasting, but feeling a whole lot better whilst you are fasting. As you would have discovered over the past few weeks, it is significantly easier to fast when you are fat adapted. Your hunger signals are now reduced, your appetite is better controlled, you are dipping into these endless fat stores for energy. So me throwing you into fasts on day 1 and day 2 of this challenge is pretty hardcore and probably, you could say, a little bit cruel. But I have my reasons. Not only do I do this to make sure I set you up for the best results possible from this challenge, but it is also a great way for you to show yourself just what is possible. I hope if you have been able to get through the fasts each week that you are feeling pretty pumped and proud of yourself. If you haven't been able to get through them just yet, keep pushing. Now that you are fat adapted, fasting should be a lot easier. And I would say that it is in your mind and these preconceived ideas about what you think you can and can't do that is more likely holding you back right now. You've still got 2 weeks left of this particular protocol, and just a little change of mindset might make all the difference for you right now. So today, I want to take a look at different fasting protocols. Now, is this 2 24-hour consecutive days fasting the best way to go for you? What are the other options? Are there better options? Well, let's take a closer look. In reality, there is really no one best fasting protocol. And anyone who tells you anything different is really making it up. There's no evidence right now to support that one fasting protocol is better than another. Different protocols suit different people, and so it is very worth playing around with these different protocols. It basically comes back to trial and error, which of course I go on and on about, but this is what it takes in most areas of nutrition to discover what is best for you, and fasting is no exception. I also believe it's important to mix things up when it comes to fasting. During this challenge, we've stuck to one protocol, but following the challenge, I'd encourage you to try something different for a few weeks and then mix it up and then try something different again and keep mixing things up. It is best to keep your body guessing. In a similar way to having variety in your food choices, variety of fasting protocols can only be what allows you to consistently move forward in terms of reaching your goals and optimizing your health. In the Fasting Protocols resource, I've listed a few of the more common fasting protocols to give you some ideas, but really the types of protocols and the way that you structure this into your week, well, there is an endless amount of possibilities in regards to the way that you can fast. So let's take a bit of a closer look in regards to what the protocols are that I have provided on the resource for you. I've classified them into entry level, intermediate, and then we have our hardcore fasting. So entry level fasting, no snacking. I'm sure by this stage in the challenge, you've come to realize that most of us eat way too often. The notion that small, frequent meals is good for our health is totally incorrect. Now, if you leave this challenge and all you do is just continue to eat 3 meals per day, no snacks, I believe your health will be better off. So that's the first one. What can we add to this first one to make it even better? Well, an extended overnight fast. If we had to go back to the days of our grandparents, we would probably find that dinner was eaten pretty early, maybe about 6 o'clock, and then breakfast was at about 8. But our crazy busy lives now dictate very different patterns of eating. We eat dinner later, we eat breakfast earlier, probably because we're working later, we're home later, we have to leave for work and for other activities earlier. And really, it's very difficult to change our modern worlds in this respect. And so we need to find ways to work around things. If you're currently eating dinner later, then maybe you think about pushing breakfast out or skipping breakfast altogether. We want to achieve this 12 to 14 hours overnight at a minimum. And if we can do a combination of these two things, the no snacking and this extended overnight fast, boy, are we on a better path to health. So even though this is entry-level fasting, I think it's a fantastic start. And if your health is really good, maybe this is all you need to do. Next, we have the intermediate fasting protocols. And the first one here is taking this extended overnight fast and pushing it out a little bit further. Now, there are a number of specific protocols that fit into this category. The one that is probably most popular is the 16-8 protocol, where you would fast overnight for that 16 hours. There's also a 24 protocol. That's another one that has been quite popular. But basically, what we're aiming for is this narrow window during the day when you eat. And this window is usually anything between 4 and 8 hours. So in essence, what you are doing is you're skipping one meal in your day with this type of protocol. And then we've got the 24-hour fast. Now the 24-hour pushes it a little bit further. So we've obviously done consecutive days throughout this challenge, but you could just do like one day a week of a 24-hour fast. And it's taking it up a notch in terms of this extended overnight fast, because what you are doing here is you are skipping 2 meals instead of 1. Once we start getting into this realm of fasting, we need to make sure that we take into account other things, such as the stuff that I've been drilling into your heads since day 1, and that includes listening to your thirst and having sufficient amounts of electrolytes. And continuing to do that ongoing is really, really important. The next approach that I would put into the intermediate fasting realm is the 5 and 2 approach, another popular or well-known fasting protocol. This approach was made popular by Michael Mosley, and it's a slightly different approach to what we have been doing in this challenge, in that it's not a 0-calorie fast, but rather a significantly reduced calorie fast. Basically, with this protocol, you would have your usual diet for 5 days a week. And I'm hoping that your usual diet is now your low carb, higher fat approach. And then on 2 days, you would have significant reduction in your calorie intake. And if you're following Michael Mosley's recommendations, he is recommending around about 500 calories on those 2 days. Now, he doesn't specify where these calories should come from, but if your goals are related to ketosis or being in line with everything we've discussed in this challenge, then what I would be recommending is that all of your calories on these days should come from fat. This way, we still keep insulin secretion to an absolute minimum. So what would be some of the things you might have? Well, this is where something like a bulletproof coffee, we're thinking just fat. What can we have that is just fat? A bulletproof coffee fits in perfectly here, or maybe just a coffee or a tea with some cream in it. And that would be your easiest options here. There are things like fat bombs that you might look into as well. This protocol can be useful for a number of different reasons. Some people just don't like the idea of no calories, whether that's a mindset thing or physiologically they don't cope with it, whatever the situation might be. Having a few calories in your day might allow you to still fast, even though it's not a 0-calorie fast. You would still be able to fast. And if this is something that's more realistic and achievable for you, well, the benefits are still going to be there. The other reason why people might fat fast instead of 0-calorie fast is because it's a great way to really build up those ketone levels. So if your goals are around increasing ketone levels, then a fat fast might be useful. A final reason might be that you are on medication, and this medication needs to be taken with food, and therefore this is a way of allowing yourself to have periods of fasting but have something small so that the medication can still be taken. And of course, this would be something that you would need to check with your physician before going ahead and doing it. So that covers the intermediate fasting protocols. We now move on to the hardcore, and you'll see top of the list there is the 24-hour consecutive days, which is obviously what we've been doing during this challenge. And yes, I did throw you in a little bit into the deep end, but it's a great way to really get things moving in the right direction. It can be tough, but I believe it's really achievable, and hopefully you have shown yourself that over the last 4 weeks. The next one we've got there is an alternate day 24-hour fasting. It's pretty self-explanatory. You might do this weekdays only, and so you would fast Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which basically means that you would have one meal per day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then eat your usual diet on the other days during the week. Some people do it ongoing. So this week would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then the following week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, etc. It's just about finding that balance for yourself. It's really important to find a balance between getting adequate amount of nutrients, in particular protein, and also looking at electrolyte levels. If we fast too much, sometimes it's really difficult to maintain good electrolyte levels, and this can lead to all sorts of things that are uncomfortable for us, but also quite dangerous as well. And the other thing is that we might not be able to really catch up in terms of our protein requirements. If you go back and listen to the protein video where I specify those daily amounts, if you are fasting too often over a period of months, your protein average on a daily basis is going to be quite significantly less, most likely, than what your optimal levels are. And so it's just about finding a balance between fasting and getting all those nutrients that you require, and weighing up what is most important for you at this stage based on your goals and your unique situation. Another one that fits into the hardcore fasting is the 36 or 42 hour fast. And this is, we've gone from Sunday evening dinner to Monday dinner. With this protocol, you'd go Sunday evening dinner and then would push through all the way to breakfast on Tuesday, or even a bit further to lunch on Tuesday. So you would take this a little bit further. If you were doing this one, you might just do that once a week or once a fortnight, again, depending on what your goals and your situation is. But it's just mixing it up a little bit, giving your body something that's unexpected, to keep it guessing, to keep changing, and to keep improving. The last one that I've got on the list here is your multi-day fasting. Perhaps prior to this challenge, your multi-day fasts would have totally freaked you out, or, seemed absolutely ludicrous, or maybe they still do, I don't know. But multi-day fasting is taking things up a big notch. But for some people, it may be what they really need to get their health moving in the right direction. For others, it may be something that they don't want to consider at all. So multi-day fasting can be anything from 2 days and beyond, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, etc. I started off and I said that fasting is a wonderful health hack and that we can see enormous benefits for individuals with fasting. However, I do want to point out now that we also need to be cautious and we need to be careful, particularly when we move into things like multi-day fasts. Now, whilst 2 or 3 days is still going to be relatively safe, anything beyond that, I would be suggesting and highly recommending that you consult a doctor who is familiar with fasting and has the ability to monitor you during these multi-day fasts. I'll just briefly mention that in the Low Carb Level 2 program, a 12-week program available for people who have completed the 6-week challenge, we trial 4 different fasting protocols, each over a 3-week period. And this may be an option for you to look into at a later stage. I hope that all that information has broadened your mind in terms of what you can do with fasting and the different ways you can play around with it. I also hope it has provided some inspiration and motivation to keep fasting and to keep some element of fasting in your diet, always in the long term. That's it in regards to fasting for today. I will see you next time.